Hello and welcome to my latest video. Today I'm going to be showing off my Shimano Baitrunner collection in its totality. Recently I have done videos on a few of the bait runners that I've purchased recently, as well as my older bait runners that I've had in my collection for many years. I've had a few questions covering a few of those reels, and I've also thought, well, why not make a video just specifically on my bait runner collection? I do have many Shimano reels, but the bait runners are my favorite. So I thought, why not do a video for everyone out there and answer a few of the questions and go into the reels in a little bit more detail, perhaps more detail than I have covered in the past. First off, I'll be showing my older gen bait runners, which I got when I was quite young. Been using those for many years. Not too long ago I respooled them all. And I will be putting a link in the description to the videos, all of my bait runner videos that I have done in the past. I've then been slowly upgrading with a couple of the OC series. I have done videos on those. And then I was lucky enough to also purchase a D series, which is sort of the highest series that I have. There is a little bit higher than this, which I'll chat about a little bit later. And most recently, I did purchase the ST series, which is sort of their more budget conscious series, which is I guess you could say the poorer cousin of the series. And I have recently done a video on that as well. Again, I'll be putting that in the description. And as a little bonus, I've also got my two oldest bait runners, the actual first bait runners that I ever got when I was very young. These have seen a lot of Ks, or a lot of casts, I guess you could say. Spent a lot of time with them fishing, and they are pretty well worn, but still working great. So before I progress to my newer bait runners, I am actually going to do just a short look at these. As far as I know, they don't have the Aero series anymore, as these are known as. Yeah, we'll have a bit of a look at those first in a bit of detail, and then move on to the newer reels. I won't be going into too much detail of the older ones, I suppose, as I don't have any of the stats as far as the kilo drag rating and ratios, unless they're actually displayed on the reel itself. So I hope you enjoy this video. So let's go ahead and have a look at my older series bait runners. Okay, so here they are. Now I think the standard Aero was the first one that I ever actually purchased. This is going back some, perhaps close to 30 years, I believe. Maybe not quite that far. But the Aero series was sort of obviously the more budget bait runner series at the time. They possibly could have been the first bait runners that Shimano brought out, but don't quote me on that. I don't have a lot of details on these reels as they are so old now. I don't really have much of a reference point on the internet as far as their drag capability and their sort of internal workings, etc. But they are a great bait runner. Like I said, these are my most used bait runners, and I still use them in the modern times as well. You can see here on the spool it has Aero and 8.5. I believe that could be an S. And then the SR, or ST, as it used to say on the rear of the reel here, has the dual arm handle, which I don't actually mind. Sometimes it does actually get in the way, believe it or not, but it is actually not bad having the dual handle. One good thing about these older bait runners, they actually had a rear main drag, and the rear bait runner drag, whereas the more modern bait runners have the traditional, I guess you could say, front drag, and the bait runner drag is at the rear. These have the forward activating spools, so when you put the lever forward, it's then in bait runner mode, which of course gives you your free spool, and then either by turning the handle or flicking the switch, they go back to a traditional drag system. The capacity of the two of them are actually the same, and I do have a spare one of them, I believe it might have been this one, came with a spare spool as well. So I was able to switch those over to have a couple of different poundage of line on them at the time. I think when I first got these, I did have traditional mono on them. And then a while back, I switched them over to some old braid. It could even have been the braid that I took off my original Fuller series bait runners that I had actually purchased later. Now they are quite old, but they still have a pretty cool look to them, I think. The graphics on them were pretty nice at the time. This one is quite faded, of course. As I said, they have seen a lot of action. And not long ago on a fishing trip, I actually lost the cover off the end here, off this one. But besides that, they're actually in pretty good condition. It hasn't hurt the workings of it at all. I guess it is perhaps more susceptible to getting some dirt or something in there. But that hasn't bothered me too much. The line capacities on them, if you are interested to know, is right here. 0.35 diameter is 300 meters, 0.40 is 210, and 0.45 is 170. So they hold a fair bit of line, which is great. And I predominantly use these if I'm just going to have a short muck around on a pier or something, or on the rocks. I don't mind if these get a bit dirty and damaged. But yeah, they're still great, and they are still Shimano bait runners. Okay, so here's the next series that I happened to purchase. After really loving my Aeros, I went out and decided to buy the next step up, which I believe at the time, this was the top of the range bait runners. I don't believe there were any other models besides these. Again, this is going back quite a few years. I believe I probably started collecting these in my teenage years and into my, perhaps close up to my 20s. And I actually ended up getting all three sizes in the series. So I started off, I think I started off with the 3500, which is a great little size reel. It's actually quite comparable to the 6000 size now. They've gotten quite smaller over the years. Then stepped up to the 4500, and then to the big beast, which is the 6500. Now again, I don't have much information on these older bait runners, but I'm going to presume they would be pretty similar to today's series of bait runners, and I will go into a little bit more detail on those. But if you'd like to have a look now what the capacity was, you're looking at 20 pound and 270 yards, 25 pound and 230, and 30 pound 185. Now these are of course referring to mono sizes. Braid was pretty scarce at that stage, was just sort of coming into vogue here in Australia. So everything really back then was referring to mono. So that was the 6500 size. Now all of these Shimano bait runner reels, as I have had a question before, do have the screw-in type handles on the side here. So this does unscrew and the handle comes out. Some other reels have a solid piece here, and you actually screw the handle in itself, which I guess has its pros and cons. I guess one con is that you could get dirt, etc. in here. But a pro is also probably you get a little bit more access to lubing and a little bit more access to the internals. I guess either way is okay. I've never had a problem with them being the screw-in type on this side, but some people swear by not having that on their reels. So the next size is the 4500. You can see there it's a little bit smaller capacity compared to the 65. The 65 has really great capacity. As a comparison, the 20 pound on this is only 195 yards. The previous one was 270. And then the 3500, which was the baby at the time, which as I referred to before, it's actually very comparable to the 6000 now. You're looking at, 14 pounds is 185, so you're dropping down again. But this one is actually a really good size. The thing about these older series ones is they are quite heavy and quite chunky. And one difference is the bait runner lever is actually activated by going forwards. So when it's flush up against the rear of the reel, you're actually in free spool, and then you deactivate it by pulling back. Now the newer bait runners are actually the opposite, which I think is actually but perhaps better in its styling. When they're not being used, the lever is actually forward. But I actually do really love these old school big levers, and with the little bait runner on symbol on the rear. They also have a dial action for your bait runner tension. They all actually have that. And they all have very similar handles, just obviously getting slightly larger with the bigger sizes. I really love the graphics on the side of these. For their time, they were considered quite nice reels, a little bit expensive, and of course Shimano back then was one of your more premium brands, which I guess it can be now, but they really covered the range. There's a lot more options these days than there was back then. These all, as you can see, have the waterproof drag system. I've had these for many years, caught many fish, and been on many trips with them, both in, well, except perhaps the larger size, in freshwater and saltwater, and they've never skipped a beat. It's one of the reasons why I've loved Shimano ever since, was getting into Shimano reels when I was a kid, and they've all been fantastic. I've never had any problem with any Shimano reel, not in my personal experience, and I've really loved their quality, and really like the design too. So there's not much else more I could really say about these, just that I've really loved them over the years. I've tried to keep them in good condition, never really had to service them too much, but I do keep them clean and give them a nice bit of freshwater rinse when I do take them saltwater fishing, and that's about it. They've been just great. And as I said a bit earlier, I do have a video where I re-spooled these reels, I believe it was last year, with some new braids, as the braid I had on them was from originally when I bought them, and they were quite old. Still going strong, but really thought they needed a refresher. So spent a bit of money on the braid, and I think they've come up really great. So now we're going to move on to the OC series, which are the more modern bait runners. They're probably your middle of the range bait runner series, and I'm able to give you a little bit more information on the stats of those. So let's have a look at those. Okay, so here are my OC bait runners. Now these are more recent purchases from the last year or couple of years. I've got some pretty new braid on both of those. This summer I'll be giving these a really good workout. I really like these ones. They're a good price. They're nice and light, and they're nice and modern. And yeah, I really love them. I think they're great value for money, especially if they're on sale. And I think the styling's pretty cool with the sort of silver spools, the silver graphics on the side, and they're nice and black and dark, and they just look great matched up with some nicely coloured braid. So I can give you some stats on these, of course. These are the newer series. So let's start off with the 6000. So as you can see here, the line capacity, it actually has Power Pro as an option and compared to mono, which I think is a great touch. These days most people would put braid on their reels. Now I do have some videos of me spooling these reels, so I can't remember off the top of my head what pound line I have, but I will put those videos in the description. But there's a pretty good look at the capacities. So this is a bit of a description on the website, Shimano website, about the Bait Runner OC. It says, the Bait Runner has deep roots in the Australian fishing scene, with the free spool principle having been first conceptualised here. The OC features advances like a machined handle, a replaceable spool clicker, vari-speed oscillation for perfect line lay with Power Pro braid, and propulsion line management for greater distance while casting. The Bait Runner lever moves forward towards the body to stop any accidental gear changes, and there's a 3 SARB bearings and an anti-reverse bearing, so that's 4 bearings if my math is correct. Now these come with a 10-year warranty. They're shielded. They have shielded anti-rust bearings. They are considered saltwater ready reels. They have a moderate crank power rating, and of course they have the bait runner option. Now there is 4 reels in the series these days. We have a 12,000, a 4,000, a 6,000 and an 8,000. So quite good coverage there with the 4 sizes. I only have the 2. But let's have a look at a little bit more of their details. Okay, so the 6,000 series, of course, has the 4 ball bearings. Its max drag capability is 9 kilos. Gear ratio of 4.8 to 1. Its retrieve per crank, which is in centimeters, is 89. The mono capacity that they mention on the website is 5 kilos, 274 meters. The Power Pro braid, pounds and yards, is 30 to 245. The weight is 545 grams, so it is a little bit hefty, but it does have the bait runner system, and I quite like that. That's quite a solid feeling reel. Regular retail price, this is Australian of course, is about $205, but they can be real bargains when you find them on sale. So let's just have a look a little bit of the styling of the 6,000. Of course, these ones have the rear pulling bait runner. So when you pull the lever to the rear, the bait runner is on. And then of course, when you either activate it by flicking it forward, or should I say deactivate it, or by reeling the handle, it'll click over into your traditional style. It has quite a bit of labelling sort of explaining the bait runner lever at the rear, and it also has your bait runner drag at the rear. So this does have also the front drag, which is, yeah, when you're not in bait runner mode, that's going to be doing all of your drag work. Now I think it's quite a nice looking reel. Like I said, I do like the black with the silver. It has a really nice smooth action to it. It's quite hefty, but yeah, as I said, I do sort of like that. Okay, so this is the 4,000 size, which is, of course, a little bit smaller. It's actually a really nice size. It's not too large, not too small. And I have paired it up with some sort of camo braid. Has the same look, of course, as the 6,000. But obviously has a little bit smaller capacity as far as the line goes. So if I activate the bait runner drag there, I can bring you around to have another bit of a look at its capacities. Now I think it's a really nice looking reel. It's quite cool when it's in this smaller size. This one sort of is a nice size to also use in a bit of fresh water. Now I'll give you the stats on the 4,000 size. The 4,000 size, of course, has the 4 ball bearings. It has a max kilogram on the drag of 7. The gear ratio is the same as the 6,000, which is 4.8 to 1, and a 71 centimeter retrieve per crank, which is a little bit smaller. Mono capacity, of course, is 4 and 219 meters, and the braid is 15 to 265, so it still has very good capacity, even though it's quite small. The grams comes down a lot, so it's down to 380 grams. You really notice that when you pick it up. Regular retail on this is about $189, but again, you can really pick this up for a bargain when those sort of financial year sales come up or Shimano sales come up. It's a really smooth reel, and I really love it. It's probably one of my more used sizes. Like I said, I can also use this in freshwater as well as saltwater, and matches up with quite a lot of rods that I have. So yeah, it is a great little reel, and I think it looks great. Okay, so next is the more budget conscious Bait Runner ST. Now this of course doesn't have a metal spool on it, it's all plastic. Still quite a nice looking reel. This one is quite small. The ST series actually only comes in 2 sizes, which is a 2,500 size FB and a 4,000 FB. Now this is the 4,000. Now it is actually quite small. I think it's a really good size for sort of targeting little bit smaller species, and freshwater would be quite a good option for this one. Perhaps targeting larger sized trout here in Australia, perhaps even Murray cod, your carp, yellow belly. We have quite a few different larger freshwater species here, which I think would go great on. And of course, it would work great on redfin. But I do, of course, primarily fish in saltwater. So this reel is actually quite a nice size. Again, it has the rear activating bait runner system. So you pull the lever back to engage the bait runner spool. Pretty simple graphics on this one. It's all black. Again, the handle doesn't have any metal on it. Well, it's not finished off in the metal color anyway. But yeah, quite a nice looking little reel. Only recently got this, so I'm actually as yet to give it a try. But it's going to be one of the first reels that I give a try when I next go fishing. So I'm going to give you a little bit of stats on it. It has 2 ball bearings. The drag capacity is 6 kilos, so it's pretty decent for the size. Has a gear ratio of 5.1 to 1. Retrieves per crank in centimetres is 75. Mono capacity is 4 kilos to 219 metres. And Power Pro is 15 pounds to 270 yards. Now it's 350 grams, so it's not too heavy. And regular retail is about 140. Now we'll give you the little spiel that is on the Shimano website about the ST. It says the ST bait runner range are well-priced fish catching tools, ideal for anyone wanting to fish with a spin reel where a free spool function is an advantage. The range features 2 models, 2500 and 4000, which will be perfect for freshwater, estuary and bay applications, chasing trout, bream, flathead, whiting, and of course snapper. And for those of you that don't know, the bait runner's system was really brought in to catch snapper. So it's quite a nice little reel. It was quite a lot cheaper than the others. It still comes with a 10-year warranty, and it's considered saltwater ready, and has a moderate crank power rating, and still looks pretty cool. Matches up nicely with some braid there, and I'm really looking forward to give this a bit of a run. It might not be as flashy as the others, but I think it's a pretty good sort of entrance into the bait runner series. So I think if you're looking to perhaps give a present to somebody, or you're starting one of your kids off in fishing, I think it'd be pretty cool. And even for yourself, I'm going to be using it quite a bit in the future, I think. So now I've saved the best till last. Okay, so here is my 6000D series bait runner. Now these are sort of more to the top range of the bait runner series. And of course this is the 6000 size. I'll give you the Shimano advertising about it. The Bait Runner D is the premier series of the famous Bait Runner collection, boasting the best features of previous reels, but combining them with the cutting-edge spin reel technology. The 8000 and 12,000 sizes open up a whole world of possibilities, such as casting and bait fishing for a variety of pelagic game fish, while the 4000 and 6000 sizes cater for those wishing to float a pilchard down a burley trail for snapper. Now, as I mentioned before, snapper fishing was what these were sort of originally brought out for. These ones are of course considered saltwater ready, has a bait runner system, it has the shielded anti-rust bearings, and of course the 10-year warranty that Shimano has with I think all of its reels now. Now there is 4 in this series, as was before mentioned. It has the 12,000, the 4,000, the 6,000 and the 8,000. They all end in D. Now there is only one sort of what you would consider better series than this, and that is the Thanos series. But we'll have a little bit of a chat about that in a moment. So I'll just give you a bit of a look around this reel. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's definitely a step up from the others. Has a really nice sort of black coated body, which is very glossy with sort of a bit of a shine finish inside of it, speckling finish. Of course, has the gold spool, metal handle, and one thing I really love about it is the jumbo handle. Really great. It has the traditional these days bait runner lever, engages when it's to the rear. is off when it's forward, and the adjustment for the bait runner spool drag is at the rear, and has your front facing drag for the rest of the time. Now, I paired this up with some nice moss green braid. When it's out in the sun, it actually gets quite dark and it looks great. It has like almost like a black look to it. It's definitely one of my best looking reels that I have. I really love this reel. I've used it on a few occasions. It handles the fish I'm after with no troubles at all, which were flathead. I believe I caught a nice sized trevally on it last time as well, and some salmon, and it held up, no worries at all. Now, these ones are a little bit more expensive, but let's have a look at its stats. Okay, so of course this is the 6,000 size. I in the future plan to get the 4,000 size as well. I think that they'll team up very well with a couple of the rods that I have, and they're sort of the perfect size that I need for my fishing. Anyway, this 6,000 has 4 ball bearings, has a max drag of 9 kilos, gear ratio of 4.8 to 1, and retrieve per crank in centimeters of 89. Mono capacity is 5 kilos to 274 meters, and Power Pro braid is 30 pounds to 245 yards. The weight is a little bit hefty, but again, I like that. It's at 570 grams, and this actually retails for about $265 here in Australia. So it's yeah, you're starting to pay a little bit more for the D series, but again, I got this on sale and got it for a really good price. I was very happy with the price, and you can definitely tell the quality as soon as you pick it up and have a bit of a play. You'll know that yeah, you have spent a little bit extra on a really nice looking reel. Now I'm going to just engage the bait runner option there and bring it around to have a bit of a look at some of its capacities. Excuse my hand there. Of course, this has the mono and braid options. Although actually I believe this one has the diameter and then pounds, which is yeah, which is quite good. But it doesn't specifically say braid or mono, so but I guess you can just reference using the diameter, which is really nice touch. So 0.3 diameter, of course, is 270, 0.35 240, 0.4 150, and 0.45 110. Then your poundage is 10 to 300, 12 to 265, 16 to 170, and 20 to 120. So yeah, really nice looking reel. Get a bit of that braid out the way there. Didn't cut it very short when I finished using it last time. But yeah, I really love this reel. Can't wait to get my hands on another one. I think they're definitely the best looking bait runners out of the bunch. Of course, the Thanos would be very nice, but the price on those is starting to get a little bit extreme. In fact, you're looking at around, I believe, $400 for the smaller models of those, and going up to post $400. So they are a very nice looking reel as well. I think if you're popping down to your local fishing shop, definitely check those out. They're quite nice looking reels, and they have a black coloured spool. So yeah, thanks for watching today. I hope you have enjoyed it. I could go through the bait runner applications, but there's so many videos out there explaining how bait runner works. But essentially it's just a free spooling option, so when a fish picks up the bait, it doesn't know that it's been hooked, and then you can engage the normal spool at any time and hook them or let them play with it a little bit longer. It's also great for when you're putting your line through the eyes of your rod. You can just put it on free spool and the line pulls quite nicely through. And they're just a nice looking reel. Very good quality. I love my Shimano. Again, I'm not saying you have to go out and get Shimano, but I love it and I've only had good experiences with them. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video showing off the whole collection and going into each one in a little bit more detail. And again, if you've got any questions, just post them below. I will put a link below to all the videos of these when I first purchased them and was doing some respooling with line and choices of braid. And please feel free to check out the rest of my channel. I've got fishing videos, as well as videos of my other hobbies and travels. And if you like what you see, please subscribe. And I love sharing videos with everyone, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions you've got. So I hope everything's going well, and I hope to catch you in the next video. Bye for now.